Shawty wanna thug, she know what's up. Yeah, bottles in the club. Yeah, lick. I wanna lick that cover like a lollipop. Yeah, I wanna lick that cover like a lollipop. Yeah, I wanna lick the cover like a lollipop. Yeah, lick that cover like a lollipop. Yeah, Hershey bars is what I'm craving. All it took was Carly Beth, a little bit of patience. I pull up on Miss Caldwell, you know she's my maiden. And you motherfuckers won't have any face for saving. Listen to me, all you be doing is clickbaiting. Yes, I'm talking about baiting, that includes masturbation. But meanwhile, this review is gonna be raving. And you know motherfuckers is relating to this fire, cause this book is fire, y'all. Yeah, cause this book is straight fire, y'all. Yeah, we got bottles in the club, cause that's all. Yeah, and I'm freestyling, you know we wildin', we got that life, we styling. And listen, man, forget the bars. Yo, we got the bottles today, we got the suit, we got the vibes, because we talking about the haunted mask, y'all. One of the most iconic stories to ever hit the kids' horror scene. And even though it ain't Halloween, bars, we're gonna be talking about this fire book, because all it brought to Mr. Stein was that green. More bars, all right? Shout out, bottles in the club. By the way, this is not alcohol. Do not think this is alcohol. This is simply peach juice. Yeah, non-alcoholic. So that's right. Don't demonetize me in the future whenever, hopefully my channel blows up, because this is not alcohol, y'all, but we still popping bottles. So there you go, y'all. Let's talk about one of the most iconic stories to ever hit the scene, which is the haunted mask. And I had to bring out the suit. I had to rock the suit, y'all, because this is one of the best Goosebumps stories to ever exist. And it is for a reason, because it's the most iconic story ever. It embodies the Halloween spirit, has one of the best main characters in all of Goosebumps and all of kids horror period, one that you really resonate with, one that is super relatable to everybody, has a great journey in terms of going from the bottom to the top. Shout out to Drake, shout out to Drizzy. And yeah, it's very creepy. The story idea is becoming something you are not, which has many layers to it. And yeah, just super great, super unique, and super fire. Wanna lick that cover like a lollipop? Yeah. Pause. But yeah. Alright, let's get into the review. So none other, we are talking about The Haunted Mask from the OG62, the book to start off with, because in this Halloween month review, this Halloween review-a-thon, I'm going to be talking about the whole Haunted Mask stories, possibly diving into Horrorland, but mostly talking about Haunted Mask 1 and 2 and their episode adaptations. I don't know if I'll touch the Disney Plus show, but we'll see when we go there. All right. So what is this book about? For anybody who for some reason has not read The Haunted Mask, shame on you. But it's never too late to start. And what is exactly the story so legendary about? So we follow the storyline of Carly Beth. All right. Carly Beth is this scaredy cat girl. Basically, she's afraid of everything. She always seems to get bullied at school by Steve and Chuck, who are these infamous bullies. And she has this best friend who always basically has her back. But she notices that even her best friend kind of taunts and makes fun of her, because after a certain point, it's like, even though they've been best friends, even though she understands why Carly Beth acts that way, at a certain point it becomes, you become the embodiment of being weak. And that's what Carly Beth is. She is the embodiment of a weak-willed person, one that's easy to pick on, one that's an easy victim, and one that honestly disappoints herself more than anybody else, disappoints her. She disappoints herself on a daily basis, and she's very hard on herself. She wants to become better. She wants to become brave. She wants to become this very confident person who's scared of nothing, so that way nobody can bully her. She won't be so vulnerable, and instead she'll be somebody that everybody looks up to. And that's when the true Carly Beth can come out of her, and she can finally break out of the shell. A very strong start to a story premise. So what ends up happening is that Halloween is coming up, right? And obviously Halloween is normally a very scary day for Carly Beth, because she's terrified of everything, and Halloween embodies the idea of terrifying things in the dark that come to life. You got, candy, which is great, but you got all these people dressed up as monsters. You got the idea of terrifying pranks that can be pulled because of the festivities, and honestly, she's on pretty much on guard because she knows that people like Steve and Chuck are probably going to come after her and bully her even more, probably play some really nasty pranks on her that'll embarrass her. And she just wants to be, kind of like the hero for once. She doesn't want to be this underdog her entire life. She finally wants to rise up from the ranks. And since Chuck and Steve basically pulled this absolutely horrible prank on her where they make her eat a worm inside of a sandwich and embarrass her in front of the entire school cafeteria, she's like, you know what? I'm going to get the scariest costume on the block and I'm going to be scaring everybody. Everybody's going to be terrified of Carly Beth. Nobody's going to stand in my way. And I'll finally be able to break out of this shell by hiding under a shell. That's a double entendre. Pretty deep, Stein. That's pretty deep. So basically, Halloween time comes around, and her mom loves her very dearly. Carly Beth's mom's probably one of the best moms out there. Very loving, very caring woman. And basically, she makes a costume for Carly Beth, and she knows that Carly Beth doesn't like scary stuff often, so she makes her this very nice duck costume. And Carly Beth finds it really embarrassing, really cringy, but the mom made it because she's an artist. She kind of constructed it for her as a special gift, so she kind of doesn't want to let her mom down. But she is disappointed because she wanted to go as something scary, not as this laughing stock costume of being a duck. And then her mom also makes this very weird head sculpture for her, which looks very, very eerily realistic to Carly Beth's actual face. So this sculpture kind of freaks her out a little bit, but it is a token of love for her mom, so she accepts it. And when Halloween time comes around, she's like, all right, I'm going to be forced to get into this duck costume that my mom made, and I'm going to lose my shot. I'm not going to get this opportunity again where I get to be scary. So what ended up happening was she ended up actually finding this old shop, and this old shop had a lot of creepy masks in there. It seemed like this place was kind of, secretive, kind of hidden from the rest of the town. And she's like, you know what, let me try this out. Let me see what they got. And she goes in, she kind of sees typical masks, gorilla mask and vampire mask and zombie mask, all the similar stuff that people see in, Halloween shops. But in the back, and this is a very creepy shop owner. He's got like this black cape. I believe he has a goatee. He's got like this top hat or something. She goes in the back room of this basically mask shop by accident, and she sees this lineup of extremely terrifying masks. They look super realistic. They're terrifying looking. They look like actual demons, actual monsters, actual, disgusting creatures of the night that would terrify anybody, and they actually freak her out. And she sees this green mask with this, very sharp, yellow, jagged fangs all across its mouth, these glowing yellow eyes, this realistic-looking green skin, like an actual ghoul, an actual goblin monster thing, this demon of the night of Halloween. And she becomes very drawn to it. She's very intrigued by it. She knows that that's the mask she has to have because she's never seen such a terrifying thing in her life. And if she rocks that mask, she's finally going to be able to conquer her fears and be the scariest person on the block. Well, right away, as she tries to get that mask, the shop owner basically refuses. He's like, you know what? You can't touch those masks. Those are not for sale. You have no idea what you're dealing with. There is no way I'm going to let you get your hands on it. And if you think that you want to get your hands on it or try anything smart, just know there are negative consequences that come with those things. So do not touch those masks. And right away, she's freaked out. She's like, why does this guy have these masks that he doesn't want to sell, even if I'm willing to give all my money? Like, I got $30 in my pocket. No one would be willing to spend that much on a mask. I'm willing to give him the whole thing just to get him, and he'll refuse me. Like, really? He's got no customers. Why? Why is he so protective over these masks? People figure out why later on, but, she doesn't take it to heart. And then she decides to return to the shop. And when she decides to return, obviously, he's telling her again, you cannot get these masks, you cannot take them. And right away, she doesn't care. She's like, you know what, I can't miss this opportunity. So she ends up stealing the mask, taking it right out of the bag, throwing the $30 on the counter. So that way, she technically didn't steal, right? She took it without permission, but then she still paid for it. And she ran out. And right away, the shopkeeper's so angry. He's so furious. He's like, how dare you? Don't ever come back here. I don't care if you're screaming and begging for help. Don't ever come back here because I'm never going to help you again. And whatever happens to you tonight of Halloween, you will suffer the consequences. And it's a very foreboding warning. If someone's yelling like that outside of a store over something that you took that they told you not to touch, you are in for some real bad shit. And that's what happens in this story. Halloween night comes around. She's out with her best friend. They're walking around. They're planning on how they're gonna, basically Carly Beth wants to scare Chuck and Steve. She wants to, go trick or treating, go show everybody how scary it is. And as she puts this mask on, she starts feeling strange, right? This mask feels very skin tight. The few times she's tried to take it off, it feels like it's stuck to her skin and she can't pull it off. It feels like when she puts it on, the whole thing tightens, and the breaths, that she's breathing through the mask, it feels like she's just normally breathing. It doesn't feel like she's breathing through her mask. No, it feels like this mask has become a part of her and she's just breathing like an actual monster and creature. Her voice starts to change. Her best friend and other kids are scared by this very deep, like demonic kind of animalistic voice coming out of this little girl, the body of a little girl with this mask, and it sounds monstrous. She starts feeling this very kind of animalistic tendency to, roar at people and scare people and, make them basically shit their pants seeing her. And she becomes very malicious, very, sinister, which is not like Carly Beth at all. She's a very sweet, scaredy cat girl. And now she's all of a sudden changed and she starts howling at the moon like an animal. She feels like Halloween night is empowering her, under this mask. She feels like she has so much power. She can do anything. Nobody can stop her. And even her friend starts getting scared. She's like, what's wrong with Carly Beth? What's going on here? And let's just say Carly Beth starts changing. And as soon as she tries to abandon this mask and take it off, well, there might be more than meets the eye to this mask. And let's just say those eyes might start looking a lot more like Carly Beth's because she's, stuck to her problems for a little bit. And that's all I'm going to say about the story. Okay, this story, pretty straight to the point. If you've read enough kids' horror, you'll predict it. But the way it's written, this story is so iconic for the way it's written because Carly Beth's one of the best main characters out there. You get this entire journey of her being this very relatable underdog character that everybody kind of looks forward to. And across the story, she starts changing, starts becoming this, monstrous kind of different being. And all of a sudden you see Carly Beth in a different light. You feel like she's this very powerful, very sinister character. And you get the mix of a protagonist and antagonist coming together to become something else entirely, a hybrid, which is very cool to see, the hybrid of a villain and protagonist coming together. And then you start, feeling bad for her once this whole, charade and, persona starts wearing down on her and she tries to escape from it. She's stuck and it stings a lot because you really care about her character. You love Carly Beth. So when you see her suffer, it actually hits the spot. And the way that Stein writes some of the emotional scenes in this book, man, when she starts screaming about something that she cannot take off her, body, when she starts screaming like that, at a certain character that may or may not probably have led her to this, situation, you actually feel like, a real life scenario where this person, she's screaming her head off. She's so desperate. You're like, this is hitting. This is that emotional impact that I'm looking for. And the way the story is told with how she acts on Halloween, you kind of get this fantastic sense of the atmosphere, this full moon, this autumn winds, these dead leaves blowing around everywhere, all these kids on the block during, the prime Halloween days. We don't know because Halloween's dead now. People don't go out trick-or-treating anymore. People don't go out in costumes. People don't celebrate the festivities. But this was back in the day during the heyday of celebrating. So you get that real Halloween spirit. It kind of makes you nostalgic. It kind of makes you reminisce on the old days. And yet it brings to you this brand new story and perspective that you'd be like, whoa, this feels like a movie. I've never seen something like this. I never read something like this. And, Carly Beth being great, even Chuck and Steve, even though they are bully characters, they're not as bad as some others. You kind of get a little bit of sympathy towards them when you see them start experiencing certain stuff, especially in the episode adaptation where they're a little bit more charismatic. And, the whole climax scene of what she has to go through, the explanation behind the climax is a little bit wonky because in the episode it's a little bit better, but in the book, something is described as to being created in a very scientific way, and then it starts going down a supernatural path for the climax, which is very counterintuitive. Something being created in a scientific background, now all of a sudden is supernatural. Doesn't really make any sense, but you kind of just have to let it slide because it ends up being quite a creepy climax, and the ending is kind of just brings everything all together. You know, it goes all full circle. It wraps up very nicely. And yeah, you feel very sympathetic toward the main character, and you feel kind of glad that, you know, she's managed to go through this journey and come out and become something more, right? And not in the way you may have intended. So yeah, that's how I feel about Haunted Mask. What does this book get? This book gets a mother flippin' 9.7 out of 10. We popping bottles in the club for this one, baby, because Haunted Mask is, although not my personal favorite, one of the most iconic stories out there, one of the best stories out there, and one of Stein's best works, which is why, again, he says Haunted Mask is his favorite story that he wrote, and he got it because his son put on a Halloween mask and couldn't take it off. So we got real life inspiration from it. So yeah, shout out to Haunted Mask. Cheers. All right. Shout out to you, one of the best stories out there. 9.7 out of 10, which is an A+, which means that this story is, of course, in my S tier for Goosebumps stories that I've read so far. Everybody go read this. Go check it out on Halloween. It is a fantastic read. It'll let you know some of the brilliance of Stein's writing. It'll let you get a glimpse into the peak of what Goosebumps was, and it'll take you back to the embodiment of the Halloween spirit, all through a fantastic main character, one of the most memorable main characters out there. And yeah, overall a great tale. That's all I gotta say. I talked a little bit more about it on the podcast with Goose Junkies, which is a podcast I'm on with Goosebumps completionist, Minnesota Goosebumps fan, and other people. I will link that in the description down below, where we talked a little bit about the Haunted Mask there too. You can get some more of my thoughts. But yeah, overall fantastic, and everybody go check it out. I hope you guys enjoyed. And by the way, hit that subscribe button. It's free. And hit that like button. It's free as well. You guys like free things. Free things are good. You don't got to pay for it, and yet you can support me. And on top of that, it lets me know you guys are engaged with the content. It lets me know what kind of, more stuff you want to see. So hit that subscribe button and hit that like button, and get ready for the continuation of the Halloween review-a-thon, because next up is going to be the Haunted Mask episode. And I have some other stuff that I'm reviewing as well. So yeah, stay tuned. Also, by the way, the next episode of the Goose Junkies podcast is going to be Halloween related as well. So stay tuned for that. That's all I have for today. Deuces. And let me just say deuces with the deuce. This ain't deuce, but just pretend it's deuce. Deuces with the deuce. I literally got a bottle, I put on a suit, and I did a freestyle. And y'all are still debating on hitting that subscribe button and hitting that like button. All right, this is kind of effort I put into my relationship with Felicia. And she isn't here anymore. Well, you guys are still here. Hit that subscribe button. See you guys. Bye-bye.